thinking, and I got the Color Media book in the mail today. Woo! Yay! And I know some of y'all are starting to receive it. And I'm drinking some Crystal Light. So if my little lips are cherry red, it's because I'm having Crystal Light fruit punch. But I wanted to give a tutorial. And I was like, okay, can I just keep it real? I had a huge cry today. Like, bawling cry. Upset about some things. Isn't that life? And I actually wrote in my journal. I have a new journal where flowers bloom, so does hope. It's upstairs. I was journaling and I was like, okay, I've got to get back to the basics. And so I share this with you because in the Stillness of the Soul coloring book, and I need to put in the captions down there so that way as I teach you, you can get the link to that baby. I think. Whoops, chat. Sorry. Told you I wasn't like all prettiest teacher. Anyways, okay. I was like, all right. I feel like I just tell you guys my life. So anyways, thank goodness I talked to my friend Linda. And I touched my friend Kate. And I bawled my eyes out. Then I put my big girl panties on, I guess. More ways than one. I used to hate that saying, but I think I'm now growing into it at 50. And then I woke up from my nap because I had a headache from crying. And this was in the mail. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So the Lord helps you develop things that you don't even realize that you're going to use, like, for yourself. So guess what page one was? I mean, seriously, this is, I know, Holy Spirit driven. Set your mind on things above and not earthly things. And I'm like, okay, that's what I was totally crying about today was earthly things. Just keeping it real. I even unfriended somebody on Facebook today. Not because I don't forgive them or not love them. I just can't have that energy in my environment. And I think at 50 years old, now I look at women and I go, okay, they're in their 80s and they're so set in their ways. Kind of now know why. Not that they can't be honoring in some ways, don't get me wrong. But you know what I'm saying? All right. So I have come down here to do a teaching session on how to turn this page into some mixed media. And I thought, why not document it? And I may be talking to myself. Might be talking to y'all. I don't know. Say hello. Whatever. But I'm going to share with you what I'm going to start doing first, second, third. Okay? And I will record this. So I'm sure they might think I'm crazy when they watch my video later. But, all right. So before I turn the camera down, the first thing I've got in my pretty stash is, seriously, I have some stencils. Here's one. So I have some stencils, okay? And I have my trusted big box of pencils, okay? And in the comments later, I can tell you what type of pencils I use. I actually have a big box. Kurt made this one for me. And I work with Prismacolors. I work with watercolor pencils. And I work with ink pencils. Okay? And so in the book, you can cut it out if you want. As long as you're not reduplicating it for the world. If you want to print it out, you can. If you want to message me and you're like, Trisha, I'd like to have a little bit better border, can you send me a link? I am, to the book purchasers, going to have a hyperlink to the PDFs so that way they have a larger border around them. Okay, so that's the scoop. So who wants to get down with me and let me know where you're coming from, and we'll see what we're doing. Okay, so here's my my thing. The first thing I'm going to do is I have some wood. Now, here is a little scoop. You can go to Lowe's, and in the plywood department, they have these bigger sheets of plywood, and you'll see them ranging anywhere between like $14 and $40 or whatever. This was birch interior plywood, and I got a big cut, or a big board, for like $15.60. I think that's included with tax. Okay. And here's what is so cool, y'all. They will actually cut the smallest 6x6, and they will go all the way up. So I had them cut me some 8x10s. So that way, when we go to like a Dollar Tree or a Restore and we want to frame the art, we can put it and make it frame worthy. Okay. So here in the book, you can see here where we have it, and it doesn't carry the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is, number one, I am going to eventually, and I'm just kind of thinking through the process holistically here, I am going to do washi tape here along the sides. And so I was thinking, set your mind on things above. And I was like, okay. And I found my washi tape that has little clouds. I'm like, okay, is that like so cool? I think I might change my camera. Bear with me just a second. Then you guys can get a pretty handy dandy close up. Hold on. Let's see. I'm still here. I'm just going to see if I can change my camera. Usually I can change my camera. All right, you know what? There we go. How's that? So the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't want to affix it to wood yet for framing. I'm just using that for stability, okay? The reason being is, for those of y'all who want to take your art and maybe scan it and make it into, like on Shutterfly, greeting cards or postcards or whatever, and you have like a normal inkjet or laser printer, you can put this little sucker on a scanner and you can make a copy of your art, okay? So I'm not going to put it on wood just yet, okay? But what I am going to do is I am going to start coloring the background here. So the secret to pencil work is to go very light. And I'm thinking one of my favorite places is Jekyll Island, Georgia. And boy, I would so love to see the sunset there. So if you live in Jekyll and you want to have me as your guest, that'd be awesome. I usually go by myself, but I'm watching the budget just like everybody else, right? So this is a watercolor pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start going lightly over this. And you may not see the colors dominantly right now. And there's a reason. I'm going super light, very light on the colors, because I'm not sure if I want a whole yellow background. I'm just laying this first down. I'll sip of my crystal light here. My goodness, I think that was more of a guzzle. I really do think this is probably art journaling related. I'm guzzling my crystal light because I had such a good cry today. You know, we don't tell people that we cry behind the scenes, do we? Because we don't want to be appeared as weak. But I was listening to a sermon today, and how when, you know, everybody just kind of starts thinking that King David was always strong and he never cried. And boy, right now, as I think about like what I was crying over, which was relational related, relationships. Boy, can't they make you cry? Or lack thereof of a trust of a relationship. In the Bible, his own son betrayed him. That had to be so hard as a parent. And then when his son was killed in battle, he cried for him, you know, because he was his parent, you know, he cried. But his own son tried to kill him. You know, we think of enemies in the outside world. Boy, talk about enemies right underneath your household, right? I think that's why I loved this one here on Set Your Sight on Things Above, because instead of thinking about earthly things, keeping our focus on what's really important is valuable. I promise the next time I'm going to have my little bit closer camera for you, okay? My teaching camera. So I'm just doing a very light, this is a Arteza watercolor pencil. I want to show you something. When you use water on a pencil, I'll just use a little brush here. What happens is it gives a paint effect. And it gives a more colored, it gives a watercolor effect without you using watercolors, okay? All right. But the second thing, before I start laying a bunch of colors, what I'm going to do is I am going, don't you just love it when I do holistically thinking here? I am going to go ahead and lay some washi tape down along this side where I cut it in the book. Because just because it's cut there in the book. By the way, my next books I'm going to work on, because we have to release the perfect, right? So I love that you're supporting me on this book, and know that if you message me, I'll send you the PDFs of them. I promise. But releasing the imperfection. But what I'm going to do is actually move the line in, so that way when you cut out, you will have a better border. But a lot of times you don't know until you just take a step in the right direction. And sometimes it doesn't feel like it's the right direction, does it? But if we just lay in bed and don't move forward, then we never know what the process is going to bring. By the way, I'm not preaching at you. I feel like I'm preaching to myself. So anyways, this is some washi tape around this wood. I'm just going to have this as a placeholder. The cool thing is if I don't end up liking this wood, this washi tape around it, I can just pull it up. But I want you to see what I'm going to start doing with the background here to turn it into mixed media. So I've got this yellow, right? But now what I'm going to do is I've got some stencils laying around here, right? But I don't necessarily want the whole paisley on this. I want little elements of the background. So I'm going to take these little stencil things. Oh my goodness sakes. I made Crystal Light before I came down. I am such a kid. I have Crystal Light on my hands now. Okay, Trisha, really? Well, whether it be paint or Crystal Light, you know, it's all good. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go over this stencil. Now, this is Dear Wort ink pencils. And what I can do is in the description, when I post this later, give you a link to them. What's cool about the ink pencils is that you can go really light, but then they literally turn into this like bright, bright ink. So I want you to take note of the stencil. I'm not doing a dry brush like doing a stencil like on a piece of wood and making the line, making the wood stand out really dominant or anything. I'm just using it as a little accent just to give it texture, okay? So I'm purposely not stenciling the whole thing. I'm just doing like a little element. Now here's what's cool. I'm going over this stencil, but because it's ink, I can also wet it down. No, you're going to freak out when you see this. Watch this. I'm going to wet it down. Look how blue that's getting. And you might go, uh-oh, you're messing it up. No, because I'm layering it. Now, would I necessarily wanted it that bright? Not necessarily, but it's okay because, boy, set your mind on things above, not earthly things. So I'm going to actually turn this stencil upside down. I feel like I'm going to play the drums. I'm going to wet this a little bit, and I'm just going to bring that color over into the paper. Oh my gosh, how cool is that? And I'm going around the outlines. So I'm coloring actually on the stencil here. I'm going to do a little bit of water on the stencil. And I'm just pressing it almost like a stamp. I have tons of stamps, but sometimes I don't like to have to pull out the whole rigmarole. Okay. So there we go. So I'm just bringing texture into the process. Okay. I love pink, and I think about pink skies. Red clouds at night, shepherd's delight. I guess I'm thinking about a little bit about David and being in the cave. And boy, I bet you he thought about earthly things a lot here and there. You can see that in his Psalms that he wrote, that he struggled, feeling alone at times and so forth. And he probably, I was on the phone with my coach yesterday, and she was like, you know, Trisha, you just got to look at things in life when you make a change to think about it as a course correction, that you're not failing at a particular thing. You're changing direction on your, to lean in more into your purpose. And it's interesting because I coach on that. But coaching yourself is very, very hard. Having somebody to talk it out with, because the answers are already inside you. And sometimes just having a sounding board is just really, really good to do. What I love too about the art process is sometimes you look at it and you go, okay, I've already totally messed up, but actually you haven't, because it's a work in progress. Things have to look messy. Oh my gosh, am I preaching to myself today? Things have to look messy and cluttered in your life before they come to the other side of being beautiful. So crying is a natural way, but we've got to hold on to the hope and the promise, I believe, of what is coming around the bend. And I think setting our minds on things above, what the big picture is, setting our big picture. Okay, so I have this lace. Oh, I just got chills. So I'm going to lift this up. And I think people wonder like how I get like lace and stuff on there. That's where you can use like a Mod Podge. Don't worry, when I teach like the real classes, I'll have some ideas of what I want to do. I'm just doing this along with you. Actually, though, I love the small part of the lace. So I'm going to cut this here. I'm going to actually do a dive tonight in the Bible and also quotes of famous quotes from the past about how to set your focus on things to improve your life. So you're seeing that I'm just kind of playing collage playing here. This will go in session 3 of integrating in mixed media elements, but I'm just kind of getting a feel of maybe what this talks to me. So I tell you what's going to make me feel better is I'm going to go ahead and glue Mod Podge this down to a piece of wood. And just know that you can get that wood at Lowe's. They have this huge cutter and they will cut whatever size you want. So let me get my little Mod Podge here. I think today's Monday, isn't it? Boy, I feel like today was a Monday. Never liked saying that. Like there was a song, rainy days and Mondays always get me down. And I'm like, no, you want to live a life where Monday doesn't get you down. But there are days where things open and responsibilities and doctor appointments and things that are open Monday through Friday. And yes, that can kind of make it feel like a tough day. Hence the quote, set your mind on things above and not on earthly things. Love that. So I'm going to go ahead and place this in the middle of my board. It's going to get framed anyways. So I don't have to be perfect with the outside of the designs. Just going to lift this up, kind of get it even. There's a home decor store called The Weathered Home in Morganton who takes a lot of my artwork. So if you go there and you get one of my pieces, you'll see the story of this one. Set your heart on things above. So good. What's funny is I already am liking the bottom of this where the colors are starting to just kind of like be in and out. When we use the gel pens, you're going to see how it pops. So I'm not going to worry about the sides right now. Now I've got my hard piece to put some pressure on. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. And by the way, this is the book I'm working from, okay? So if you want to get it, it's on Amazon. And in the back, I have these affirmations that we can Mod Podge on and some things like that. All right, so I'm going to go back to, I'm going to go over here to my Prismacolor markers. Prismacolor markers are used in the professional world, but anybody can use them, of course. What I love about them is how they blend. The blending of the colors are just really, really cool. So let me show you. So you know how I had yellow here, right? I may jump off and jump back on here so that way I can get you my other camera. I just love the color of Prismacolors. So this is a poppy red. And then I'm going to go back over here and use this light pink. And I'm going to keep coloring this in. And I will be back shortly because I'm going to move to my other camera so you can see my detail work. Okay? All right. I will catch you a little bit later. You might see me in just a couple minutes.